Hi, I'm Dave from Hectors Smokehouse. If you haven't been to my channel before, please hit subscribe if you like the video. If you've been here before, welcome back. I've not posted a video for the last 6 months or so. I've been quite busy getting a new house built and we're getting very close to actually having that finished. So hopefully in the next few months we'll be moving into the house and I'll be setting up a barbecue area where I can do a lot more cooking videos. But in the meantime, I get asked quite a few times what sort of vacuum sealers that I actually use. People are quite confused by them. I use two vacuum sealers. I use a chamber sealing vacuum sealer, which is this, which is the Polyscience 300. And I also use a standard vacuum sealer, which is the Lava V400. So what I'm going to do is put two videos together. One to review the Polyscience 300, the chamber vacuum sealer. And I'm also going to do a video on the Lava V400. I'll explain the reasons why I use both of them and the different applications and what the benefits are of actually using each of those models. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you do, at the end of it, please give it a big thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. So this is the Polyscience 300. This is a chamber vacuum sealer, which is different to the normal strip sealer. On top of here, there is a very thick polycarbonate lid, around about 5/8 of an inch, 15 millimeters thick. You can see it's been formed. It looks like it's maybe been drop formed or vacuum formed with a seal around the edge. In the kit, you also get a small vacuum for an external vacuum for vacuum sealing containers and jars, and also the instructions that come with it as well. In terms of the controls on the front, there is an on-off button. There's a vacuum button. The vacuum changes if I turn this on, the vacuum changes the different levels of vacuum. So there's minimum, low, medium, high, and max. And as I press this each time, it goes up and down. So you can actually do pre-programs or you can actually adjust this. So in this case, I'll set it to high. And then the function button, that switches between seal time. So how long the actual seal takes to actually seal the bags, and a marinade time. So if you want to marinate food, it can actually put food under a marinade, release, put food under a marinade, release. So you can do different programming functions with that. Seal time typically would be around about 3 seconds. So if I had that at 3 seconds, that'd be setting the seal time. If you was doing something like actually using containers and you didn't want to actually put the seal across there, then you just drop this down to 0 and that's how you'd actually seal a container. So once you've actually created your program, then you can just press start and it'd go through the program, and if you've got a seal time, it'd actually seal for that time as well. You can also manually seal. So if you had a roll and you wanted to cut a roll, you could open this up, put the roll across the sealing bar, close it down, press seal, got your time for how long you want to seal it for, 3 seconds, and then it'd actually seal as well. If you have any problems, there's a stop clear button as well, where you can actually stop the program or clear the program that you're actually using. On the right hand side, there are 3 pre-programmed buttons. So on there you can press whatever you want and it actually run that program, whatever it is. So it'd have a vacuum intensity and also the function, a seal time on there as well. So these come pre-programmed, or you can actually change them. So as an example, if I wanted to do a vacuum on a container, I may set this to low and I may set the seal time to nothing. And then I could press P3. And that's now programmed as P3. So the next time I go to press P3, it will run a low program with a seal time of 0 seconds. So that gives you an idea of the functionality. On the front here as well, there is a small external vacuum. So that's where you can put the hose in and you can do an external vacuum on a container or a jar if you wanted to use a jar as well. So what I'll show you here is the actual external vacuum seal. So to do that, you've got to put the tube in. Now this needs to go quite far in, so you need to push it quite hard into there so you get a good connection. This in particular is a Cabela's vacuum sealer that I bought previously, and again you push that into there. What you've got on this Cabela's vacuum container is a pressure indicator, this red pressure indicator. When it's under vacuum, you'll see that'll actually go in and depress, and then you can release the vacuum here as well. You can also set the date and the month if you want to actually store put a date on when you've actually done this vacuum. So in this case, you're going to look for the vacuum you want to set it to. I'd typically set this to something like low, because this is obviously a plastic container, and if you put it on full, it might implode. So you've just got to be careful with that. Then your seal time, you want a 0. So you don't want to be up at 1 second or half a second. You want that down to 0 so you don't trigger that off. So then all you do to start is press the start button. Once I do that, you'll actually see the pressure indicator go down, and you will see the minimum button light up, and then eventually the low button. Once the low button matches the setting which I've got, low button, it'll turn itself off. Really important that you take this out straight away afterwards so that it doesn't actually lose any of the vacuum. So I'll go through this cycle now. So you can see that depressing, and it's actually gone in. Waiting for the minimum light to light, and then for it to go to low. So there's minimum, it'll go to low, take that out straight away. So that's the cycle done, and what you can see here is that that's actually depressed and pushed in, so you know that this container's under vacuum. What I'll do now is I'll press the button, and you'll see the red button pop up again. So you can see it's released the vacuum. So this is really useful for marinating food or any other household products that you want, whether it's salad, tomatoes, anything you want to put in there you can do, but you can also marinate meat in there. So very useful way to actually use this vacuum sealer. So now I'm going to show you the actual chamber vacuum working. One of the real advantages of the chamber vacuum sealers compared to the normal sunbeam type sealers is that you can actually seal liquids within this as well. Because what it's doing is it's putting the vacuum in the chamber, it's not actually putting the vacuum or sucking out the air out of the bag when you're using the bag. So as a result, if you're using a bag on a normal bladed vacuum sealer, it'll suck the contents of the bag out, which is obviously problematic, so you don't want to be doing that. This allows you to actually create a vacuum outside of the bag and even go to the point where you can actually put water into a bag and seal the water into the bag. So I'm going to show you how that actually works and give you a quick example of what to do to actually vacuum seal water. So one of the reasons why I bought the chamber vacuum was the ability to actually seal liquids or even seal meat without drawing the moisture out of the meat. In this case, this could be soup, it could be gravy, it could be anything you wanted it to be. I was very nervous of doing this at the beginning because I was worried about the water coming out. But as you can see, the chamber is quite deep, and this is the sealing bar going across. So the idea is you put the water in, or the liquid in. It needs to overhang by somewhere in the region of about 1 inch over the sealing bar. Let's put that back in again, sorry. Just over the sealing bar. And the water then will be below that level. So you bring that down and trap it in there. I tried different settings for this. The one that I liked the most was using high, and in terms of seal, I used 3 seconds to seal it. Now, the liquid you put in here has to be cold, so you can't put anything hot in here. Because it's really weird. It starts under vacuum, the water starts to bubble like it's boiling, but it's not actually boiling. But if you have things like soup in there that's hot, then it's going to erupt all over, and you're not going to get a successful vacuum, and you're also going to spill a lot of the contents into the bag, into the vacuum sealer. So the idea is make sure the content is cold before you actually put it in there. So let's go through the cycle and let's see what happens. can see this going up. It's at medium now, so it's just about to click to high. And it'll release the vacuum. So that's the vacuum released. Take it out. And there you go. So you can actually see that the water's sealed in there. I could have probably done this on maximum because there's a tiny little bit of air left in there. But overall, that's really good. And you can see that it sealed the water in. So this is the main reason why I got it. It stops you from leaking moisture or liquids out of the vacuum whilst you're actually vacuuming. Another major difference with a vacuum chamber sealer is the actual bags that it uses. So when you use the normal flat blade type vacuum sealers, it's pulling the air out of the actual bag. So you'll always see they're rippled, and that allows the air to be drawn out and pulled away. So them bags are typically a lot more expensive to do that, and quite often they come on rolls as well. In this case, this is just a thin bag. It's got nothing on there in terms of grooves or anything like that, because it's creating the vacuum around the outside and sucking around the outside of the liquid or the meat that you're actually putting in there. So these are a lot cheaper. So these bags are considerably cheaper than what you'd buy for the other type of vacuum. However, unless you're using this a lot, maybe in a commercial application or at least every day, then you're not going to really see the benefit, but these are much cheaper. Most of these bags also come in set sizes. So you can see here I've got a 165 by 250, 200 ml by 300 ml, and a 250 by 350 ml, and you can get these different sizes. The benefit for me is to be able to actually put one steak in at a time. Just put one steak in, vacuum seal it, instead of using a much wider roll that I'd normally use at home. So there's a benefit just being able to do that for myself. Also, the intention is to use this a lot for doing sous vide as well. Now, both of them can do sous vide really well, so there's no problem with either or of them. But this is going to be very useful for anything that I want to put in here that's more of a liquid, a sauce, rice, or anything else that I want to put in there. Both different types of vacuum sealers also can actually do tins, or can do, in this case, do jars. So if you're putting any jam or making any jam in there, you can create the vacuum, again, turn the seal time off. This would then actually loosely fastened onto there. You would then put this into there on a snug fit, create the vacuum, and it actually seals it tight. So that's another good use for using the vacuum sealer. So this is a closer look on the inside of the chamber. As we showed you before, you can see the shape here of the actual lid. So that's actually lifted up above, so you can put larger pieces of meat or items you want to vacuum into there. Inside, you can see there's depth into the chamber. So this is where your liquid or your meat would sit, and then the actual bag would actually go over this sealing bar. That gets clamped down, and as the vacuum is drawn out, this is where the air is drawn out of the vacuum chamber, and that's where the seal actually takes place. So you can see it's really well built and quite substantial inside. So hopefully that gives you a good idea what the Polyscience 300 vacuum chamber sealer can do. For me, the benefits for me is to be able to use it to do liquids, gravies, sauces, curries, any of those type of things are going to be very useful for being able to do that. Also going to be really good because you can actually use the much cheaper bags, so they're going to cost a lot less. But the downside is they are expensive, they are big, they are heavy, limited by the width that you can actually put into there. But I think this is going to be a good addition for myself personally, and is going to really help out with a lot of the work I'm going to be doing over the coming months on sous vide. This will work really well for doing that. So hopefully, if you enjoyed the review, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.